I won the lottery on a Tuesday. $5 million burning a hole in my pocket before I'd even cashed the ticket. And by Friday, I was sleeping on a cardboard mat in a Milwaukee alley, just to see if my own blood would recognize the monster they'd created. My mother spat in my face when I begged for $1, calling me a junkie leech who'd probably OD before dawn, while Dad chuckled like it was the punchline to some redneck joke he'd heard at the VFW hall. That's when I knew forgiveness was for suckers. And revenge wasn't just a dish best served cold. It was the only meal that'd fill the void they'd carved out of my soul 20 years ago. It started, like most American tragedies, in a Rust Belt suburb outside Milwaukee. The kind of place where dreams go to die under the weight of unpaid mortgages and Miller Lite regrets. I was Iris back then too, still am, though the name feels like a bad tattoo now, etched in invisible ink over scars no one else can see. Born to Harlan and Marlene Kowalski, products of that post-war boom that promised picket fences and never delivered. Dad worked the line at the Harley plant until automation chewed him up and spat him out at 45, trading wrenches for welfare checks and a perpetual scowl. Mom waitressed at the local Denny's, her dreams of nursing school buried under grease stains and tips from leering truckers. They weren't bad people. Not in the cartoon villain sense, just the slow poison kind. The ones who love you enough to ruin you without ever saying sorry. I was their golden girl once. Straight A's. Debate club captain. The kid who got a full ride to UW-Madison on scholarships and grit. But college cracked open the family fault lines. Dad's drinking ramped up after the layoff, turning holiday dinners into minefields of slurred accusations. You're leaving us for those egghead libs. Iris? Traitor. Mom enabled it. Her silence a cosign on every bottle. By sophomore year, I was wiring home half my Pell Grant just to keep the lights on, skipping meals so they wouldn't. It was my secret shame. That ledger of love disguised as debt, thousands funneled back to the house on Elm Street, all while they griped about kids these days on Facebook. Then came the real betrayal, the one that turned filial duty into a festering wound. Junior year, I got mixed up in a campus protest. Nothing wild, just marching for fair wages after the admin jacked up tuition. But Dad, with his Fox News feed and union-bred paranoia, saw red. He drove up unannounced, stormed the quad like a one-man militia, screaming that I was spitting on the flag and ruining the country. In the chaos, he shoved a cop, accidental. He swore later, and the whole thing escalated. Riot gear, zip ties, the works. I took the fall for it. Lied to the dean. Said it was me who'd pushed the officer. Me who'd incited the crowd. Pleaded down to a misdemeanor. Lost my scholarship. Dropped out with a mountain of loans and a record that'd haunt every job app for a decade. Why? Because Dad begged me in the back of the squad car. Tears mixing with whiskey breath. Iris. Honey. One more screw-up and they take the house. Prison for me means your mom starves. Do this for family. And I did. Covered for him like always. Buried the truth under layers of youthful mistake and protesters' remorse. They kept the house. Sure, refinanced it twice on my dime, but never once acknowledged the blood price. Graduated to disappointment status overnight. Should've stayed home. Learned a trade. Mom would sigh over pot roast, as if my ruined future was just poor planning. Fast forward a decade. I'm 32. Scraping by as a freelance graphic designer in Chicago. The kind of gig economy grind where hustle culture means ramen noodles and rejection emails. Dad's on disability. Mom's retired to chain smoking and QAnon TikToks. They call once a month. Always with a hand out, grandma's meds. Truck payment. Just this once. Iris. I send what I can, because that's what daughters do. Right? Until the lottery. Powerball jackpot. Odds like getting struck by lightning in a snowstorm. But there I was, scratching off the ticket at a Southside bodega after a brutal client call. 5 mil. After taxes, a cool 3.5. Life rewrite in smudged ink. I didn't celebrate.
No champagne.
No calls to old flames. Instead, I stared at the ceiling of my shoebox apartment, replaying every IOU they'd cashed without interest. The secret I'd buried, the assault charge that should have been Dad's, the years of silence that let it metastasize.
What if I tested them?
Not with riches, but with ruin. Pretended to hit bottom. See if the well of maternal instinct ran deeper than convenience. It was twisted. Yes, Psych 101 manipulation. The kind of experiment that'd get you canceled on Twitter. But in the dead of night, with the L train rattling like Judgment Day, it felt like justice. Or, at least, catharsis. So I staged it. Cashed the check through a lawyer, anonymous trust, ironclad NDAs, then liquidated my life into storage units and burner phones. Ditched the contacts for dollar store glasses, chopped my hair into a rat's nest, layered on thrift store rags that smelled like regret. By week 2, I was Irene, panhandling on Milwaukee's Brady Street, close enough to home for the sting. Posted up near the Pfister Hotel's back entrance. Sign reading, "Fallen on hard times, anything helps." God bless. Tourists tossed quarters. Locals averted eyes. But family? That's when the real show started. First contact was Aunt Linda, Mom's sister, spotting me from her Prius during a coffee run. "Iris? That you?" "Sweetie." I mumbled something about bad breakup. Lost job. Couch surfing gone south. She bought me a McMuffin. Promised to talk to your folks. 20 minutes later. My burner buzzed, unknown number. Mom's voice like gravel over static. "What the hell's this nonsense? Linda says you're begging downtown? Pull yourself together.
Girl.
We've all had rough patches. No offer to meet. No bus ticket home. Just a lecture on bootstraps and that liberal college brainwashing." I pushed harder. Died in a shelter bathroom. Added a limp for sympathy. Moved my pitch to the VFW parking lot, right where Dad held court every Friday with his beer league buddies. He rolled up in the F-150, tires crunching gravel, and froze like I'd risen from the grave. "Jesus. Iris. You look like a goddamn hobo." I spun the yarn, fired for inappropriate conduct. Boyfriend cleaned me out. Eviction notice burning a hole in my bra. Eyes downcast. Voice cracking just right. He bought it. Or, at least the surface. Slapped a crumpled 20 into my palm. "Don't tell your mother. And get a shower. For Christ's sake." But the real gut punch came Sunday dinner. I timed it perfect, shuffled up the Elm Street driveway as they were carving the ham. Uninvited ghost at the feast. Mom dropped the fork when I pushed through the screen door. Dad's face going the color of overcooked turkey. What in God's name? I collapsed into the breakfast nook chair, sobbing about rock bottom. How I'd hitched from Chicago with nothing but lint and lies. They exchanged that look, the one that said, "Here we go again," before Mom sighed, heavy as a death sentence. "Iris, we've bailed you out before. Remember that protest mess? Your mistake cost us everything." I froze, fork midway to my mouth. There it was, the buried secret clawing to the surface after all these years. Dad jumped in. Voice oily with false concern. Now. Marlene. That's water under the bridge. Kids down. Not out. But his eyes darted. Scheming already, I could see the gears turning, calculating how much pity play this charade could yield. They fed me. Sure, scraps from the fridge. No seconds, but when I whispered about needing a loan for motel,
Just tillpai deg.
laughter. Not kind. Not relieved.
God deep.
Mocking guffaws that echoed off the Formica counters. You're hilarious. Iris. Dad wheezed, wiping tears. Homeless? You? With that art degree and your fancy apps? Pull the other one. Mom joined in, her smoker's rasp turning vicious. If you're so broke, why not sell those tattoos? Or that attitude? We've got our own bills. Missy. Doors that way. I stumbled out into the dusk, their chuckles chasing me like stray dogs. 5 million in the bank. And my own parents, the ones I'd shielded from ruin, treated me like a punchline. That's when the hook sank deep. No more games. Revenge wasn't a test anymore. It was a verdict. But Harlan Kowalski wasn't the type to roll over. Oh no. He was a flip-flopper extraordinaire. The kind of small-town schemer who'd sell his soul for a six-pack and buy it back for a beer tap. By Tuesday, he'd sniffed out the ploy, how? I'll never know. Maybe a tale on my hobo wanderings, or Mom's gossip chain lighting up like a Christmas tree. He cornered me in that same alley, reeking of old style and old spice. Iris. You little bitch, he hissed, grabbing my collar like I was 16 again. Think you can play us? That lawyer's office downtown?
Yeah.
I followed you. Lottery.
Huh?
Why the act? To make us look bad. His face twisted, rage 1 second, wheedling the next. We could split it.
Kid.
Family first.
Right?
Forget the past. That cup thing? Water under the bridge.
Lies.
All of it. He wasn't sorry, he was salivating. Offered to invest my windfall in his latest scam, a sure-thing crypto Ponzi with his VFW pals. When I shoved him off, laughing bitterly, he flipped again, threats now, muttering about exposing my fraud to the feds. How I'd go down for tax evasion on the whole charade. I walked away, heart pounding like a bass drum in a Metallica solo. But the seed was planted. Mom was next, calling from a block number. Her voice syrup-sweet over the line. Sweetie, your dad's overreacting. Come home. We can talk shares. 50-50. By Friday, she was posting vague Facebook pleas, pray for my wayward daughter, fishing for sympathy likes while demanding me ultimatums. Wire $500,000 or she tell everyone what you really are. The betrayal wasn't just the laugh, it was the flip. The way they morphed from dismissers to extortionists overnight, unearthing my old secret like a weapon. That protest cover-up? Now, it was leverage. One word to the DA, Dad texted, and your fairy tale ends. The tension coiled tighter. A noose of my own making. I could have ended it, lawyers on speed dial. Restraining orders thicker than a Trump tweet storm.
But no.
This was America, land of the free-for-all, where revenge plays out in boardrooms and backyards, not courtrooms. I needed them to feel the weight, the way I'd carried theirs for years. So I escalated, dark and deliberate.
Ren teda nondescript sedan.
Shadowed their routines like a PI in a noir flick. Dad's VFW meets. Mom's bingo nights at ST. Mary's mapped it all. Vulnerabilities exposed like veins on a junkie's arm. First strike, anonymous tips to the IRS.
See.
Dad's disability checks, fudge docs from a crooked dock in Racine, claiming a back injury that let him golf every weekend. I had screenshots, years of his own boasts on Venmo. 18 holes on the house. The audit hit like a freight train, agents swarming Elm Street by dawn, hauling file cabinets into vans while neighbors gawked over fences. Dad called. Apoplectic. You did this. You ungrateful. Click. Mom's turn next. Her side hustle, reselling knockoff purses on eBay. But really fencing boosted merch from the Denny's walkouts. A quiet word to Milwaukee PD's Property Crimes Unit. Boom. Search warrant. Her garage a treasure trove of tagged Louis Vuittons. They flipped harder now. A tag team of desperation. Dad showed up at my storage unit. How'd he find it? Pounding the roll-up door till security chased him off. Screaming scripture about prodigal sons and hellfire. Mom went viral on Nextdoor, painting me as the lottery psycho, preying on elders. Her post racking up 200 shares before the mods nuked it. Controversy brewed. Local news picked it up. Heir to fortune turns on family? Splitting the town into camps. Was I the villain? The spoiled millennial biting the hand that changed my diapers? Or them? The leeches who'd laughed at my lowest? The climax brewed in that Pfister alley. The one from my panhandling days. Rain sheeting down like divine piss. I'd lured them there with a forged email, Iris's confession, meet me or lose everything, sent from a ghost account. They arrived together. Umbrellas bobbing like black halos. Dad's face thunder. Mom's eyes calculating as a casino shark. What now? You monster, he bellowed, shoving a printout of the news clip. Ruined us for sport? I stepped from the shadows. No rags now, just jeans and a hoodie. The 5 mil a ghost in my bank app. Sport? This is payback. Dad. For the shove you pinned on me. For the scholarship you stole. For laughing when I begged. The words hung. Electric. The air thick with the scent of wet asphalt and old wounds. Mom lunged, not violent, but a mother's grasp, clawing for my arm. We did it for you. To keep us together. You think we wanted that on your record? Lies cracked open like eggshells. Dad flipped one last time, dropping to his knees in the puddle. Rain masking tears or just water. Please. Iris. We'll sign anything. Therapy. Church, whatever. Just stop. But his eyes? Still scheming. I saw it. The lawyer he'd consulted on the drive over. Contingency for a wrongful whatever suit. Mom echoed. Voice breaking. You're our blood. Doesn't that count? That's when the twist hit. The one that'd split readers down the middle like a bad divorce. I pulled the envelope from my jacket. Not a check.
But docs.
The real secret. Unearthed from sealed court files via a PI who'd cost me 10 grand. Not just the shove, DNA from the riot. Proving Dad wasn't pushed. He'd swung first. Drunk and deliberate. Fracturing the cop's jaw. Manslaughter, potential. Buried by a plea deal he never took because I confessed instead. Sign this, I said, sliding a confession form. Admit it.
Publicly.
Or the feds get the full file, your assault. The fraud. The extortion texts. They stared. The rain a curtain between us. Sign. And they'd be pariahs, VFW blacklisted. Bingo shunned. The American dream's underbelly exposed for all to judge. Refuse. And prison loomed. Real this time. No daughter to scapegoat. Dad's hand trembled on the pen. Mom whispering, Harlan. Don't, but he did. Scrawled his name. The flip complete. From predator to penitent. or just survival. I walked away, envelope in pocket, the weight lifting like fog off Lake Michigan. Happy ending? For me, maybe therapy on retainer, a cabin in Door County, freedom from the ledger. For them, community service, whispers at the grocery, a fragile truce over Thanksgiving turkey. But as I hit the highway south, burner buzzing with their voicemails, come back. We love you. I wondered, was I the hero reclaiming her due? Or the villain who'd poison the well for a sip of vindication? In America, where justice is DIY and family ties cut like barbed wire, maybe we're all just flipping sides till the credits roll. The fallout hit like a Midwest blizzard, slow building, then burying everything in white-hot isolation. I holed up in a Wicker Park loft I'd bought sight unseen with lottery scraps. Floor-to-ceiling windows framing the Chicago skyline like a postcard from purgatory. No more freelancing. I hired a manager. Outsourced the grind to apps and algorithms. Days blurred into therapy sessions with Dr.
Elena Vasquez.
A sharp-eyed Latina shrink who'd seen every flavor of family implosion from her Lincoln Park office. Revenge is a mirror. Iris, she'd say, tapping her Bic on a dog-eared notebook. It shows you what you've become. Question is, do you like the reflection? I didn't. Nights, I'd pace the hardwood, replaying that alley showdown on loop, the pen scratching paper, Dad's defeated slump, Mom's silent scream. The confession went public 2 weeks later. Dropped to the Journal-Sentinel with an exclusive. Lottery winner exposes father's hidden past. Front page fodder. The kind that sparks bar fights and Reddit threads. Kowalski family drama. Justice or just desserts? One headline crowed, complete with my anonymized silhouette and Dad's mug from the '07 arrest that never stuck. The town cleaved like a fault line. Old high school pals DM'd support. You go, girl. They had it coming, while cousins posted passive-aggressive prayers on Insta. Forgiveness is divine, family first. The VFW revoked Dad's lifetime membership. He took to drowning sorrows at a dive called the Rusty Nail, where the bartender comped shots out of pity or spite. Mom, she weaponized the church ladies, turning Bible study into a victim symposium. My own daughter. Can you believe? After all we sacrificed. Whispers followed her to the pick and save. Carts abandoned mid-aisle when she'd break down in frozen foods. But Harlan Kowalski wasn't done flipping. Oh no. That man was a weather vane in a hurricane, pointing whichever way the wind of self-preservation blew. A month post-confession, my lawyer flagged an incoming suit. Defamation. Emotional distress. The works. Dad's name on the papers. But the ink smelled like Mom's perfume. They're countersuing my attorney, a slick ex-ADA named Tom Riley. Briefed over Zoom. His tie askew like he'd wrestled a deposition. Claiming you coerced the admission. Got a notary witness saying you threatened them with that old file. Coerced? The words stuck like gum on my shoe. I'd given them a choice, truth or the big house, and they chose truth. Or so I thought. Turns out, the notary was Cousin Eddie, the family weasel who'd notarized their refinance back when I was footing the bill. Eddie, who owed Dad a poker debt the size of a Harley down payment. They'd lawyered up cheap. Some ambulance chaser from Waukesha with billboards screaming, fight back. Now it was war, depositions, and discovery. The courts turning my revenge into a circus. I drove up for the first hearing. 90 for a ribbon of regret under steel gray skies. Milwaukee County Courthouse loomed like a concrete confessional. Protesters picketing out front, half for family values, half for expose the frauds.
Inside,
the air hummed with fluorescent buzz and stale coffee. Dad sat ramrod in the gallery. Suit 2 sizes too big. Mom beside him clutching a rosary like a shank. When our eyes met, he didn't glare, he winked. Winked. Like we were co-conspirators in some long con. Later, over recess smokes in the lot, he cornered me by the vending machine. This ain't personal.
Kid.
Just business. Your mom's idea, said we flip the script.
Make you the bad guy.
Sue for peace. Get a settlement. Split it 3 ways. The audacity burned hotter than lake effect wind. Here he was, after spilling his guts to save his skin, now twisting the knife to carve a slice of my pie. Mom hovered nearby, feigning prayer, but her eyes flicked to my purse like a pickpocket's. Iris. Honey, she cooed when Dad stepped away. We're broke because of you. That audit? You're doing. Sign the NDA. Drop the suit. And we forget this ever happened. Grandkids someday. Right? Grandkids. The word landed like a sucker punch. I'd never mention kids. Never planned past the next therapy bill. But there it was. Their final flip, from extortionists to emotional blackmailers, dangling phantom family ties like bait. I laughed raw, ugly, echoing off the courthouse pillars and walked. See you in court, I tossed over my shoulder. The decision crystallizing, no settlement. Full trial. Let the judge unearth every buried bone. The months dragged, a legal quagmire sucking time and sanity. Discovery unearthed horrors I'd half forgotten, emails from my college days. Wiring rent money while they vacationed in Door County on found cash, turns out. Skimmed for my scholarship refunds. Dad's deposition read like a bad spy novel, denying the assault till his own texts contradicted him, then blaming PTSD from the plant. Mom? Stonewalled. Invoking spousal privilege like a shield. But her bingo ledger cracked under subpoena, thousands laundered through church raffles. My gifts the seed money. Public opinion swung wild, a pendulum of partisan pixie dust. Fox affiliate ran, entitled Millennial Torments Vets, painting Dad as a Purple Heart hero. He wasn't, just a bad knee from dodgeball. MSNBC countered with Daughter's brave stand against abuse, me as the Me Too avenger of the Midwest. Twitter, X now. Whatever, erupted in threads, Kowalski chaos trending. With polls splitting 52-48 on who's the real victim, I avoided it all.
But Dr.
Vasquez printed screen caps. See this? Iris? You're not just fighting them, you're feeding the beast. America's addicted to these morality plays. She wasn't wrong. Tension peaked at the pretrial motions, a sweltering July afternoon where the AC wheezed like Dad's confessions. Judge Harlan, irony's cruel joke, was a no-nonsense type. Ex-prosecutor with a gavel that cracked like thunder. MS. Kowalski, he addressed me. Files stacked like Jenga. Your actions border on vigilantism. But the evidence. He trailed off, eyeing Dad's counsel. Their case crumbled faster than a gluten-free crust, Eddie recanting under oath. Admitting the coercion notary was a favor for a cleared tab. Dad flipped mid-hearing, taking the stand unprompted. I did it. Your Honor. The shove. The lies, all me. Iris just made me face it. Gasps rippled the gallery. Mom buried her face, shoulders shaking. Was it redemption? Or another pivot, testifying to soften sentencing on the fraud counts now bubbling up? The judge dismissed the suit with prejudice, cost to plaintiffs, and remanded Dad for a federal review on the old assault. As bailiffs cuffed him, gently, For cameras, he locked eyes with me across the aisle. No wink this time, just a nod. Weary as a defeated prizefighter. Proud of you.
Kid.
Finally.
Proud.
The word hollowed me out, driving home through cornfields that whispered of harvests reaped too late. Mom vanished post-hearing. Rumor had her shacked up with a deacon in Sheboygan, filing for divorce to dodge the fallout. No calls. No cards. Just a certified letter renouncing all claims, her final flip to self-preservation. I won. On paper. The house sold at auction. Proceeds garnished for my loans. A quiet donation to the cops' medical fund from that long-ago riot. But victory tasted like ash. The kind you rinse from your mouth after a bar fight. Fall crept in. Leaves turning the color of old bruises. I took up running along the lakefront.
Ponding pavement till min lungsbu ned.
Chasing the ghost of who I'd been. The loft felt vast. Echoes mocking the silence. One crisp October dawn. Burner rang, unknown Wisconsin area code. Hesitant. I answered. Dad's voice. Thinner now. From county lockup. Iris? Not Callan to beg.
Just.
Therapy here.
Group stuff.
Talked about the shove. The why.
Pause.
Crackle of bad connection. Wasn't the booze. Not really. Your ma. She pushed me to it. Said the protest was your fault. Turning us against each other. I swung to shut it up. Covered for me 'cause I was weak.
Weak.
The admission hung. A twist sharper than any courtroom reveal.
Mom.
The enabler. The flipper-in-chief, not just complicit, but the architect? It reframed everything. Her silences. The laughs. The suits. All to bury her own guilt, using me as the family lightning rod. What now? I whispered, waves crashing like applause. Release in 6, he said. If you want. Coffee? Neutral ground. No demands. No schemes, just an olive branch. Olive as the Midwest plains. I hung up, staring at the horizon where water met sky, seamless as grudges half forgiven. Debate raged in my head. Meet him. Risk the cycle? Or ghost? Let the scars scar? America loves its comebacks. But mine felt unfinished. A sequel begging for script. Winter clamped down hard that year. Chicago's wind off the lake slicing through coats like accusations unspoken. I ghosted Dad's coffee invite. Too raw. Too soon, diving instead into reinvention. Sold the loft for a lakeside A-frame up in Saugatuck, Michigan, where dunes muffled the world's noise and the coffee shop crowd skewed artsy, not adversarial. Hired a gardener for the wildflowers, a chef for meal prep, luxury as armor, padding the void where family should have fit. But secrets have a way of thawing, bubbling up like groundwater in spring.
Dr.
Vasquez approved the move. Space is healing. Iris, but warned of the pull. Betrayal's a tether. Cut it clean. Or it'll yank you back. She was right. March brought the subpoena, federal, not family. The assault file. Dusted off for Dad's fraud tie-in. Needed witnesses.
Me.
Front and center. To confirm the cover-up. Reluctant, I flew into O'Hare. Rental car hugging the lakeshore to Milwaukee like a bad habit. The U.S. Attorney's office was a glass tower of bureaucracy. All polished steel and power suits. A USA Ramirez. A no-bullshit Latina with a prosecutor's stare. Laid it out over bad vending coffee. Kowalski's pleading to the old charge. Manslaughter 2. Concurrent with the disability scam. Your testimony seals it, no trial. Quick sentence.
Seals it.
The phrase echoed as I prepped, poring over transcripts in a hotel room that smelled of bleach and regret. Dad's flips chronicled like a rap sheet, denial, deflection, then dime-dropping on Mom as the instigator. Turns out, she'd confessed too, in a plea bargain flip of her own, ratting on the eBay fencing to shave time off her community service. She orchestrated the whole thing, Dad's statement read. The protest push, the cover, even the lawsuit. Kept me in line with guilt. Mom, from her Sheboygan hideout, countered in hers. Harlan was the hothead. I just cleaned up. Mutual assured destruction. Their marriage a casualty of crossblades. Trial day dawned muggy. The courthouse a zoo of reporters and rubberneckers. I took the stand in a navy sheath, hair pinned like armor, swearing on a Bible that felt heavier than my windfall. Yes, I confessed falsely, I said, voice steady under the lights. To protect my father. He struck first, deliberate, unprovoked, gasps, flashes popping like gunfire. Dad sat cuffed at counsel, head bowed. But when I met his eyes, gratitude, or gratitude's mask.
Mom watched via video link.
Her feed frozen on a pixelated scowl, extradited pending her own hearing. Cross-exam was a minefield. Their public defender, a harried kid fresh from Marquette Law, grilled me on the lottery ploy. So you orchestrated a deception. MS. Kowalski? Pretended homelessness to humiliate your parents? Isn't that coercion? The gallery murmured. Judge Harlan rapped for order. I leaned into the mic, unflinching. It was a mirror. Counselor. To show them what their lives looked like on me. Objection sustained. But the seed planted. Was I witness or witch hunter? The press ate it up. Post-trial headlines screaming, daughter's revenge. Hero or homewrecker? Dad got 5 years. Federal pen in Terre Haute. Light sentence. Considering. With good behavior out in 3. Mom drew probation. Restitution. And a restraining order barring contact. She flipped one last time in her allocution. I did it for love, she sobbed to the camera. Twisted love. But love. Twisted. The word haunted my drive back. 94 blurring through tears I hadn't earned. Summer bloomed, tentative. Saugatuck's galleries and galleries calling like sirens. I started painting raw abstracts. Alleys and avalanches in oils. Selling for 5 figures to collectors who cooed over the emotional depth. Therapy shifted to maintenance, Dr. Vasquez beamed over video. You've alchemized poison into gold. Iris. But gold's heavy, share the load. Her nudge led to the podcast. Unburied Secrets, my 6-episode confessional. Ghost written, but gut true. Dropped on Spotify in September. It rocketed. Millions of downloads. Guests from abuse survivors to ethicists debating, when does justice become vengeance? The backlash was biblical. Alt-right pods called me a woke grifter, milking trauma for merch. I donated proceeds to victim funds. But optics bite. Lib streams hailed me as the reckoning we need, but even there, caveats. Empowering.
Yet.
Did she go too far? Iris effect trended, splitting listeners into camps. Team betrayal, me. The betrayed avenger, versus team blood, family sacred. Forgive and forget. One viral thread dissected the alley prompt. Was the laugh cruelty? Or tough love? And Iris's ploy, brilliant or borderline sociopathic? Dad wrote from prison. Letters smudged with pencil and penitence. Read your pod.
Kid.
Made me think. The flips? Habit from the plant. Adapt or get scrapped. Sorry, don't cut it. Bad at start. No asks. Just reflections. On the shove as his own buried rage from a dad who belted him for bees. On mom's enabling as her armor against a world that chewed farm girls. Humanizing. Maybe. Or manipulative. I filed them in a box. Unopened half the time. Mom's silence broke in November. A manila envelope postmarked Sheboygan. Not a letter. But photos. Wedding day grins. My first bike. A faded Polaroid of us three at Summerfest. Ferris wheel lights haloing our heads.
Tucked inside.
A note in her looping script. Twisted love. But real once. Burn if you want.
I didn't.
Framed one, the bike shot on the mantle. A talisman against the dark. Climax came unbidden. Christmas Eve. Snow drifting like forgotten apologies. Doorbell chimed. I opened to Dad. Paroled early for exemplary conduct, standing sheepish in a parka 2 sizes big. Bus from Terre Haute. Didn't call, figured you'd say no. Behind him, a cab idled, exhaust clouding the night. No mom. Rumor had her in Florida. Flipping pancakes at a Waffle House. Chasing sun and second acts. We talked on the porch. Mugs of spiked cider steaming between us.
No tears.
No theatrics, just Midwest blunt. The flips. The failures. The secret that started it all. You were right to make me face it, he said. Voice gravel from disuse. But the suit, that was panic. Thought we'd lose you forever. I nodded. The old anger a ember. Not inferno. And the laugh. When I begged, he winced. Stupid pride. Saw ourselves anew broke. Beggin'. Laughed to hide the hurt. Hurt. The twist that'd spark endless debates. Were they villains of their making? Or victims of a cycle I broke too brutally? I handed him a key, not to the A-frame, but a storage unit in Kalamazoo. Inside, his old toolbox from the plant. Tools oiled. A starter fund for AA meetings.
Rebuild, I said.
On your terms. He left at dawn. Cab taillights fading into whiteout. Happy? Tragic? Pick your poison. I poured another cider, toasting the skyline where dunes met dark water. Revenge had carved me hollow, but in the hollow, light slipped in, controversial. Yes, with flips and faults on all sides. But mine. Finally. In the end, America's stories aren't neat bows, they're frayed edges, begging you to tug. Was I right to pretend? To push?
To pardon?
Argue it out over beers or brunches?
Me?
I'll be painting the next chapter. One stroke at a time.